everyone. We are so glad you're able to join us this afternoon. This is the Spastic Paraplegia Foundation SPF Talks. And I see a lot of names that are showing up on my Zoom platform, and I am so glad to see that you guys are joining us this afternoon. We've got a computer screen full of folks, and I know we're going to have some good information shared to us by Brittany Kabasa, our New Jersey SPF ambassador. So please, everyone, feel free to jump in and let us see your camera, show your face. Go ahead and unmic if you would like to for a few minutes. And then as we get started, Brittany's going to, kick us off like we did on the first one with life hacks, tips, and tricks, and things that can help us in our daily lives. Gosh, Dave, I didn't know you were going to have a family reunion with us on screen. So it's so good to see all your family there joining us. So we'll get started here in a little bit as everybody is trying to connect their audio, and we're just going to kind of give folks a few minutes to do that. As you know, our last SPF talk was talking about the annual conference, which we're all very quickly working diligently to get all that information prepared and ready to receive you in Nashville, Tennessee at the end of this month. We're excited about that. So there's a few more that are going to be joining. I'm actually showing that I've got like 2 pages of thumbnail photos of everybody. So thank you all for coming in and joining us today. I wanted to tell you, as you guys are loading on, that hopefully you saw an email that was a notification to you to let you know that the date had changed. So that's what we were doing, is like changing the date so that you didn't actually have to re-register. As we get through this year, we'll stick with the same link. So if you guys recall from your email, I sent you out an email to let you know that the next SPF talk was going to be today. And then the very next email that you should have received, or, one come before the other one, you should have received the one that said, oh yeah, the date has changed, although the subject didn't tell you what the subject was. On the Zoom, the email prior to that told you that we were going to be hosting the hacks. So probably the next SPF talks, just to kind of give you a little preview, it will be the week of our annual awareness week. So we've got a week long. There will be a different time that we are going to have those, which will be 6 p.m. Central. So make note of that. And you're like, well, what date is that? Okay, so it is going to be in August. And in August, every year, it will be, and you're going to find this out at the annual conference in one of our pages that we've got in the annual conference information, which you can download the entire conference program from the website. You can go back to the page where you were interested in the annual conference, and there is a download button there, and it will download the entire program for you so that you can see that. But August, the week this year, is August the 20th through the 28th. So that is from Saturday through the next Saturday, and then the following Sunday after that. So we're actually doing it a little bit more than 7 days. So it's really a little bit more than a week, right? So we called it Awareness Week. But what we want to do is to be able to catch both Saturdays and both Sundays, and then every night at 6 p.m. Central every day. So if you can't do one day, pick another day, and we're all going to load on here. We're all going to talk, and then we will let you know what doctors are actually going to join us during that awareness week. And then perhaps between that day and the rest of the year, we will have some other doctors on board to talk with us. And so we're going to try to expand a little bit and have that, instead of 1 p.m. Central on Sunday, to maybe we may go to 6 p.m. on Sundays, so that more folks who are attending church can get out on the West Coast and be able to participate and join us. So good to see all of you. Thank you all for coming and sharing your day with us. And we're going to try our best to keep these to about an hour. So if you've got a question, as a reminder, there is the reaction button at the bottom of your screen. If you'll roll your cursor down to that, you will see there's a reaction, and the reaction will allow you to click on it, which will let you raise your hand. So if you will be so kind as to do that every time that you have a question, then what actually happens is on my end, it actually puts you in a different order on my screen, so I can try to help pick the people to ask their questions or have comments that are in the order of which you actually asked to raise your hand. Now, we recognize that some people aren't, with the capabilities of their technology as some of us are. So some people, if you really have a question and you really can't get that reaction button to work, just stand there patiently until I see you. I'll write your name down. We'll put you in order so that you can ask your question and communicate however you need to. I want to remind you that on the website, on the web page where the SPF Talks is located, there's all the information from the previous talks that we've had. And as you guys may remember, on August the 24th, we had a wonderful conversation with Brittany Kabasa, our New Jersey ambassador. And that information can be found already on the YouTube channel, as well as there were so many wonderful, wonderful, wonderful tips that you guys put in the chat box that we captured all of those that were, relevant to assistance. We didn't share anybody's name that provided any information, but all of those notes from the chat box is also available, I think, as a download. It's a summary that can be found also on the website under the SPF Talks website page. So sp-foundation.org is the website, and you can go there and grab all that information that you need from the previous April the 24th. So today, we have Brittany back to pick up with part number 2. We're going to try to take it as far as we can today within an hour, and then we'll come back maybe another day and do number 3 and number 4, and we'll continue on until everyone is satisfied with the information, or we'll, do whatever we need to do to find another subject matter. So without any other delay, Brittany, thank you so much for joining us today, and I'm just going to hand it over to you, and you can just get started.
Ashlyn, thank you so much, Norma. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me okay. I had some issues naturally plugging in to Zoom, and I ended up having to do it over my phone. So if you can't hear me or anything, wonky happens, please just let me know. So this is part 2. So the idea of this is to just have kind of an open, honest discussion, patient to patient. What are people struggling with? What are some things that people have found helpful? Just sharing free flow of information. So the first meeting, I thought I would start with the feet and kind of work our way up to the top of the body. Naturally, the feet kind of took over the entire hour. So today I thought we would start with the hands. I have a feeling even just discussing people's hands and issues, that'll probably take up a good first part of the meeting. And then I would like to talk the second half of the meeting, talk about the more mental and emotional aspects of dealing with this, disorder, and just getting through your days, your hard days, your good days, and kind of go through that and really find a support that gets everybody through. So that said, I think I'll just kind of start generally talking about symptoms that I'm having with my hands, how it kind of came about, and then we'll just kind of open it up for everybody. So I first started having symptoms in my feet, and it was only in my feet. And it was that way until I was 29, when all of a sudden I was at work and I was trying to pinch folders like this, like up out of a folder, and I was dropping them. And I realized that I didn't have the strength anymore. and it was a red flag. But I was like, all right, I'm not gonna panic yet. And then I noticed just the loss of actual muscle. My hands, I felt like they would just disappear, and they were becoming skin and bones. And I knew that it must have had something to do with what would have happened to my feet, but I still didn't have a diagnosis at this point. I still didn't know what was happening. So this was very scary, and I was kind of in denial. I didn't even want to, go to a doctor and even find out that I had to go further down this road to come up empty-handed. But I did, and it ended up leading me to Colombia, where I got the genetic testing, and I got the SPF results, which led me here. So it was kind of a blessing. But what I've found as an adult in dealing now with the neuropathy in my hands, the big problem that I'm having is just the lack of strength and those fine motor skills. And I find, like, with my feet, I can kind of push myself, and I want to exercise, and I want to stretch, and I want to keep them moving. It's all about movement and stretching and getting that blood flow and going down there. And I'm finding it's almost the opposite with my hands, where if I really try to do too much or try to push myself, I'm basically done. I can't get anything out of them. I'm getting a lot of muscle spasms, and the muscle fatigue comes on very quickly and is very prominent. I mean, I have a hard time even just, tying a shoe or something like that. The only things that I have found that have helped are just spending, even just a couple minutes, doing some of these. It's lots of just little stretches. I feel kind of silly sometimes, and my friends have made fun of me, but I have those little pieces of rubber all over my house for opening things, because I can't open anything anymore. I have a little piece of rubber, that opens everything for me, all my jars, and fingerless gloves. I never realized how amazing fingerless gloves were, or even fingerless mittens, but I don't quite have the blood flow issues in my hands like I do in my feet, but they still get cold very quickly and very often. So right now in New Jersey, it's like 90 and very humid. It's not so bad, but especially over the winter, even in the fall, even into the spring, or even if I'm at work and I'm a little chilly, I put on those fingerless gloves, and it just keeps the heat in my hands, keeps them feeling loose. I don't know if anybody else finds this, but once they get cold, it's like they're frozen, and I feel like I'm like moving like death. And I don't know if anybody else comes across that or has a way of dealing with that. I would love to hear from people, because like I said, I'm fairly new to having this in my hands. So, fairly new. Yeah, I mean, I've had it now for 6 years, but I'm still trying to find ways to better navigate just the creakiness that I feel in my joints and the exhaustion in the muscles. And I tried doing, hand grips and things like that, and I found it was actually making it worse. So like I said, I think I'd like to open it up to anyone else. If anyone has any questions or any suggestions, or would like to share kind of if any of these things are happening to them, I would like to hear from everybody. Norma, do you have anybody with their hands up?
Not at this time. There is
Okay.
there is a comment. There is a comment that there's an echo on someone's end. I just want to point out that Brittany has had to call in on a different device, so it may be that it's her sound that is an echo. If you don't hear an echo while I'm talking, then it's probably your device. So you might want to, log off and come back on. But otherwise, that's what's going on. So does anyone have any thoughts?
Higher. Yeah, I could try folding my phone up higher too.
Yeah, I have an echo also. Yes.
Okay, Josie, is that you? Did you have a question?
No, I just said that I have an echo also. I hear an echo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you hear an echo? Okay. On all of us? Do you hear an echo on my side when I speak? Okay. So it's probably Brittany's song. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so Mary, Miss Mary Schultz, she's got a comment or a question. Please go ahead, Mary. You can unmute.
Mary, can you
hear me now? I unmuted.
Yes, go right ahead.
I have HSP, which affects the large muscles in my legs, not my hands. But I have found that when I feel better after exercising, and a lot of machines that I use to exercise, I have what it's a very scientific term, a death grip, where I hold on real tight. And I feel like after I do that, my hands are numb and I get more tired quicker. So I have found it better. I tell myself, loosen up my grip. Just hold on as much as I need to. And it might be a light touch with the hand or 2 fingers or 1 finger, but I hold on. I have to consciously tell myself to not do the death grip, to hold on more lightly.
Yes, you know, I found even if I'm out in a walk or exercising, I've started clenching my hands. And I'm not really sure why that's happened, but it's only happened since the SPF has, you know, spread to my hands. And I had to remind myself to open up my hands and stretch them out. And that seems to help. That just kind of loosen everything back up again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mary. We also have Marcy. Marcy, you've got a comment or question? Hang on into the inside there, Ryan. I'll get you next.
Brittany, I want to thank you for doing this. And I have a question. Do you know what type of HSP you were diagnosed with? Which number?
I have 11. Okay.
I was just curious because I was told when I was diagnosed at the Mayo Clinic that it would only affect my lower extremities, but I sometimes worry about my arms and hands, but I don't have HSP 11, so maybe that is connected to that. In my type of HSP, I actually have optic nerve issues, so my vision is really poor.
Oh.
They can't correct it. So I think every type of HSP comes with its different abnormalities. So
I guess so. You know, I know. Interesting. Yeah, I wasn't aware of that because I had it almost in spurts in my legs, but didn't have a diagnosis until after it spread to my hands. They were like, oh, okay, now all of these kind of wacky things all make sense. And I'm like, okay, but now what? And they're like, well, we don't actually know. And I'm like, oh, well, that's great. Thanks.
Yeah, that's tough to have the symptoms and not know. And I've had symptoms on and off for about 20 years. But when I went to the Mayo Clinic, the neurologist there diagnosed it within 25 minutes of being there. And then I went to the neuro-ophthalmologist and he tested my vision. And he said, I'm 100% sure you have HSP. And I've never heard a doctor say they're 100% sure about anything. So I'm like you, I was relieved to have a diagnosis. You know, at least I know what I'm dealing with. Yeah. Oh, you're on mute.
Well, that is really interesting, Marcy, that perhaps maybe we need to even consider in the future, maybe a discussion with a doctor or someone else concerning, you know, the seeing, the optic not being able to see.
Right.
We might need to consider that as a subject in the future. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry that you're having to deal with that.
It is interesting. And my vision went downhill much quicker than my legs did. But it seems to be maintaining, and I, you know, use different types of glasses for everything I do. But I would be curious to know if there are other people with this type of HSP. I think they said 7 or 9, and I can't remember now which one it was. So anyway,
and what did you say? And what did you say your HSP number, SPG number is?
I think it's either 7 or 9.
Okay, that's yours.
Yeah, and I'd have to call my contact at Mayo because I can't remember specifically. But I know a number of people on this call have talked about 7, having 7, and so I think I must have 9 because I haven't found anyone with the optic nerve disorder that I have.
That is very interesting.
So
well, thank you for sharing that. Thank you very much for sharing that information. Ryan, go ahead, unmute yourself and ask your question or make your comment.
Yeah, so I'm Ryan here. Just kind of a comment. I was diagnosed last summer at Mayo Clinic as well too. I haven't been genetic tested yet, so I'm call myself unknown what gene it is. But I was just making a comment too because this all started years ago, and it was affecting my legs and my hips. But the last couple of years too, obviously with the legs and hips, but it's also affecting my hands. And so I put in a comment right there that I can't even handwrite anymore. And basically I really don't know what to do because just like what Brittany was saying, no matter how, because my original approach was, stretching just like I do with my lower extremities and strength training and stuff like that. But it's like it was making it worse. And so actually my comment is that I'm experiencing the exact same things. I can't handwrite, gripping things is very, very difficult for me. It seems like the strength is completely gone. So, but I did want to point, just wanted to see if anyone as well, has any advice because I'm experiencing the exact same things. So.
Well, thank you for being here, Ryan. We appreciate that. We appreciate your stepping forward, making a comment. These are all notes and, things that we're collecting so that when we get a chance to, have a Q&A, even at the conference, then we're going to be bringing these subject matters out to our doctors. So if any of you would, like to send us an email about your question, then, please do send it to spasticconference@gmail.com. And then I can make sure that we have a Q&A board that everyone can go and push pin their question to the board. And then I will have a list of questions that during the panel discussion, we're going to have all the doctors up on the panel on Saturday afternoon for an hour. And then we can ask these questions, to the doctors and let us figure out which one, has got the answer that we need to hear. And then that session will be videotaped. And then we'll have all of that on our website, at a later day when we upload all of those conference videos. So thank you, Ryan, for coming forth, and Marcia, we appreciate that. Miss Josie, you've got your hand up for a question or a comment. Please go ahead. And Charles,
Yes,
you're in the wing.
For a comment, for those who have problems with their grip strength, I'm wondering if you were ever seen by an occupational therapist, because they are very good, for the hands. They could assess your strength and give you specific exercises. But over that, they could show you various ways to compensate for the loss of strength and dexterity. And they also could not provide, but they could recommend some devices that could really help your life. I know that because I'm a former OT. I'm not practicing anymore, but yeah. So if you have the chance to say an OT, I'm sure it would help a lot.
That is very good advice, Josie. Thank you so much for providing that information. And that's something obviously we need to be checking on. But just so interesting that I have got 2 Josies on our screen. That is so amazing. That's very unusual. So go ahead, Miss Josie, the other Josie, and ask your question, make your comment.
Okay. And by the way, bonjour, José. José Duquette, because we're both from Quebec. So we're French Canadian, Quebec province. So, but we must be on the same generation, so there might have been a wave of Jose at that time. So I hopefully keep my finger crossed. And so yeah, the option of having doctor talking about eyes issue, I think it would be greatly informative. And
well, again, thank you all so very much for bringing this out in the subject. I really do appreciate that. And if you do have a particular question, again, I can't stress enough for you guys to either, write it in the chat box, if those that can chat, or send it to me in an email, and I will for sure, elevate the fact that we have had 4, 5, 6 people that have commented about, optic issues with HSP. So that's pretty interesting. So thank you, Josie, for helping with that. And Charles, you go ahead and ask your question.
Can I just have a comment about the optic issue? For SPG7, in the scientific literature, it's written that with SPG7, we can have optical issues. So it's not in our head. And
no. Yeah. We're way beyond it being in our head. It's
actually
in our body.
But I mean, it could be related, like for,
of course.
Yeah. So
so we need to elevate that. We need to elevate that, especially at the conference, and have some discussion about it. At least bring that out in the discussion. So again, thank you all. Charles, go ahead. You have a question or a comment?
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Not so much a question, but more of a comment to what Brittany was saying. So I got tested genetically, and the SPG7 was all over it, and I got diagnosed at Walter Reed for HSP. And so my issues are like my feet and my legs, not so much my hands or my vision. I do type a lot for work, and my penmanship is horrible. So maybe the typing masks it.
That's probably a factor. I type quite a bit too, and I've thought about getting. I know there's software out now that you can just speak and then it will type it for you. So I don't know if anybody has used anything like that. If they've used and they go, yeah, no, it's great. To try to cut down on some of the typing, because after a long day of work with a lot of typing, I mean, even just driving home sometimes, I can feel all the tightness and the pressure in my hands and even my wrists up into my forearms.
Hey, I have Hank that wants to have a comment. He because he's helping to host our platform, he can't actually raise his hand. So you guys know Hank Chubby. He's from Illinois. So go ahead, Hank.
Hi. I went to an occupational therapist, and they recommended using therapy for straightening your hands and fingers. It comes at a different level of density, but you can use it stretch. And you can use it to pinch. And they recommended using it daily. And it has helped me a bit with strength. If you look at the container, you can see different levels of density. You start with the lowest one, and then advance to a bigger one. And they also recommended putting little pieces on. I don't know if you can see this.
Can you raise it up just a little bit, Hank? Raise your hand up a little bit. Oh, yeah. Just a tiny
you put
amount.
it in the parting, and then you have to hunt for it. You have to stretch it and find it and pinch it out. Oh, that's my tip.
I love that. I need to get some of that just for a stress reliever.
Yeah, it could be stress reliever too. That's right, Norma. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's good, because I think the hand grips were too much. yeah, it just fatigued those muscles that I had. It just fatigued them too much. But that seems like maybe it won't be quite so hard to do.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Hank. Thank you so much. And for those of you that hadn't noticed yet, he actually put the name of that over in the chat box. And again, we'll capture all that information and we'll put that on our website as well. So Marcy, you have another comment, and Gina, you're in the wings. Go ahead, Marcy.
Well, Josie too. I just wanted to point out that your vision problem may be a result of optic nerve problem. My optic nerve is considered very pale, and it affects my vision both near and far. And it makes sense that, you know, it's all related, right? Because it's a nerve. It's optic nerve, and then lower extremities, it's my other nerve. So I just wanted to point out that you might want to talk to an ophthalmologist or a neuro-ophthalmologist about it.
You know, that is a whole nother group of doctors that we need to be alerting to the fact that this is an issue with folks that have HSP. You know, we've been talking about the neurologists and the physical therapists, but now maybe perhaps the education committee, Dana, might need to look out at, you know, providing information to the ophthalmologist. And we need to alert our entire medical, you know, campus of doctors across the board that these are issues. So thank you so much for bringing that out. I mean, we've been working with, you know, HSP and PLS and SPF Foundation for quite a while now, and this is the first time I've ever heard anything about optic issues with anybody that's got HSP. So again, thank you guys so much for telling us this. So Gina, do you have a comment or a question? Go ahead. Oh, you're on mute.
Yes, I got it. My question is, of the people who have the hand and the eye issues, is that a complicated SPG type you have? Because that could be one of the things you have symptoms as complicated type.
Yeah, they've mentioned that they think it's either S7 or 9. So those folks that have 7, SPG7 or SPG9 may have optical concerns. Is that accurate, Marcy?
I mean, I have SPG, I have 7, and I don't have any eye issues yet. I don't know.
That's good. I hope you don't.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Gina. I appreciate you bringing that out. Okay, so Brittany, I'm going to kick it back to you until there's some more comments or questions that are going to come in.
Fabulous. That's good. That's good. So I think what I would like to do is kind of continue up and start talking about the mental and emotional aspects that kind of get everybody through their days, you know, through the hard days. You know, maybe there's some awkward moments that you found, hey, you know what, if I tell people this, maybe it's kind of less awkward. Just the day-to-day things. I know growing up, because I didn't have a diagnosis, I didn't have answers when people were saying, hey, what's going on? Why are you walking like that? Or, hey, are you okay? You know, especially as a teenager, that was very, very hard. And because I was the only one in my family. But I think at least knowing that I had neuropathy was a good start. And I would just tell people, yeah, I have neuropathy, you know, I'm fine, and just kind of shrug it off. But especially finding all of you and the fact that there's this whole foundation and how widespread it is, has certainly given me a whole new confidence and acceptance. So if anybody else has a short, you know, their story that they would like to share, or, you know, maybe there's a certain saying or a poem or a song that got them through. That's really what I would love to hear from people, you know, and just kind of really get down to the nitty-gritty of it. I know I just relied very heavily on my family and just trying to get through, you know, get through the hard times and just find some explanations, find any little thing that I can hold on to. Cece, I know, has had her hand up for a while. Did you have something you'd like to share?
Go ahead, Cece, unmute yourself. You need to unmute, Cece. There you go.
Okay. I was going to say first about the hands. I don't have weakness as much as I have a lot of tremor. It can be intention tremor. It can also be just if I'm stressed, my hands go. Where holding on to something, just as an example. Yeah, that's fairly common for me is trying to hold on to things. It's not grip, it's just tremor. We don't know which one I have. I've been tested. I was genetically tested back in 2003. And at that point, of course, they were only testing for like 3. My niece was tested about 5 years ago, and they still don't have a number for us. And I'm in process of getting ready to get tested again for a diagnosis. But primarily, my symptoms are just my hands and then down, legs, hips, you know, back, all of that. But you know, I still walk with 1 or 2 canes or a rollator or whatever I need to get where I need to go. And I guess talking mental health, I think the biggest thing for me is I've decided years ago that I was willing to use whatever device I had to use to do what I wanted to do. So if I'm going to Six Flags, I'm going to use either a scooter or my rollator so that I have the energy once I get to what I want to do, that I'm not exhausted from getting there, so that when I get there, I can ride the ride or I can do the activity. And I've done that for the last 30 plus years, but sometimes it's just giving yourself permission to use the device. Yes, I don't have to use a cane all the time. Yes, in the house, it's very rare. It's only when my leg decides the neuropathy gets really bad, or my leg decides it's not going to hold me up that day, I'll use a cane. But otherwise, in the house, I don't. When I'm out and about, I tend to have one just because, for safety's sake. But
right, acceptance is a major factor in this.
Thank you. I wanted to just mention that emotionally and mentally, I think it's very difficult. You know, it's hard for other people to understand because we ourselves don't really understand that much about HSP. We're still learning, right? But I have found a therapist helpful, and he is a therapist involved in a rehabilitation hospital. So he helps patients and their families adjust to having a chronic disorder like this. And so I just Zoom with him maybe, you know, once every 2 weeks and talk about things. And it's been very helpful because I get a lot of depression and it's tough. And I imagine at your age, it's even tougher. You know, reach out for help. I mean, really, a counselor or therapist might be a really good idea.
Mm-hmm. Now, does your counselor, does he practice under a certain name? Is it like chronic disorder counseling or something like that?
You know, that's a good question. I'll ask him that because I don't know. All I know is that he works at the Nielsen Rehabilitation Center at the University of Utah. And that's specifically his role, is to assist patients and their families. So I will find out for you, okay?
That would be very helpful, yeah, because I know different counselors, I mean, they're almost like lawyers or doctors. You know, a lot of them have their specialty kind of niche.
Exactly. Yeah, and then he certainly does. And, you know, I think he only sees patients that go to this rehabilitation hospital, but I'm sure he has a name, you know, a title, and I will get that to you, Brittany.
That would be good.
Hey, and Marcy,
there's other counselors out there.
Oh yeah,
Marcy, I would even entertain that perhaps maybe if you could ask on our behalf that we might even invite them to come and be a part of our SPF talks in the future. Or maybe what might be great is for us to have them during the awareness week. So that's the week of the 20th through the 28th of August.
Okay.
Again, August the 20th through the 28th, 6 p.m. Central Time.
Okay.
So if you could pick a time that works with them, give them my email, my telephone number. I'd be glad to communicate with them and try to set something up, and then, you know, have that available so that we can all participate and listen to what they may have to say. I think that would be a great addition to our SPF talk.
Okay. His name is Chris Pace, and he's an LCSW, which is a licensed clinical social worker. And
okay.
I'll find out what his title is, and I'll talk to him about being available for Awareness Week. I think that's a great idea, Norma.
Yeah, and if we can't do it that week, I would entertain it another time. So another day, another time. We talked about, you know, trying to move some of these to Sunday at 6 p.m. Central. So if there is a Sunday, 6 p.m. Central, except for the one that I'm going to be in, you know, July while we're at the conference, you know, I pretty much be available. So, you know, there's 2 in August.
Okay.
But we can work out another time in September or October. I mean, anytime. I'm opening the door for any time. We'll work out a time. Okay. So if you want to send me that information, open the door for us, connect us with an email, that would be good. I appreciate your comments. And Cece, I really love the thing that you said about giving yourself permission. I think a lot of us take ourselves too seriously, and that we need to give ourselves permission to just do whatever it is that we have to do to make our day-to-day, our moment-to-moment be the best that it can be, whatever that is, and not get so hung up on whatever the issue is. And, you know, it's going to be what it's going to be, and we can adjust with a positive attitude and laugh at ourselves if possible. And I know that's tough. That is one of the toughest things to do. You know, we fall down, and instead of just kind of laying there for a moment to get our bearings, we jump up sometimes real quickly, which could actually hurt us in the long run, right? So be willing to just give yourself permission to just take the breath that you need to give yourself the mental health clarity that we need to get through what we got to do. I mean, it is what it is. So thank you, Cece, for bringing that out, because I think that's very important for all of us. So now, Mary, you got another comment or a question? Please go ahead.
Yeah, I got to figure out how to unmute myself. I did. I just want to follow up and say I'm going to have my 10-year anniversary of HSP next week, and I've gone to counseling, and I can't endorse it enough. But initially, my physical medicine doctor referred me to a psychologist that focuses on neuromuscular diseases. And with the onset of COVID, he only did counseling via telehealth, and I wasn't comfortable with that. I've had lots of good luck with telehealth and other contacts, but not with counseling. So I ended up going to a counselor that I found on my own. And quite frankly, her background was in addiction. She was great. And I felt like I had a connection with her that I didn't have with the neuromuscular specialist. But I do think generally counseling is really good. And I got a referral from my specialty doctor. They're a psychologist that specialize in that.
So tell me again, what was that her specialty was?
Addiction.
Okay.
Her background was like addiction to alcohol and drugs and stuff. It had nothing to do with my disease, but she was great.
There you go. One of those permission things.
Feeling it's like an ongoing issue that was toxic to you, and just kind of changing how you were approaching yourself, and then what you were doing about it.
Yeah, I think she did that, and she had some concrete recommendations that actually improve my situation. Because my concern is that people, no matter if they have great intentions, they just don't get it, which is one of the things that I think these connection events that we have through SBF, they're great to talk to other people that have the same diseases and the same issues and challenges. That's great. So this counselor, even though her background was anonymous, she gave me specific things to work on with people that didn't get it, and it really did help me. So my general thing is, number one, counseling is good, and number two, you can get a referral from your neurologist or your physical medicine doctor.
Yeah, then your insurance has to pay for it, right?
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Mary, for bringing that out. I really do appreciate that. I think all of these comments are so very important. So Heather, you've got a comment or a question? Please go ahead. Unmute.
I just did. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay. So I have HSP4. I was diagnosed in 2017, and the emotional weight of this, especially during COVID and being isolated, I live on my own, I became very depressed. And just like Mary was saying, you know, I needed help with addiction. And so I've been 5 months sober from alcohol. And the two things that I have done is I, of course, go to a therapist, and I've been going to a therapist for years, but it truly does help to be able to explain it to someone and then have the support. But the other thing is that I went to a physical therapist, and in my physical therapist, he goes, so Heather, what do you want to work on? I said, I want to be able to walk with my heel first, then my toe, and I want to be able to walk without, you know, swaying one way or the other. And I want to be able to have a conversation when I walk, because I don't know about everybody else, but I don't walk well when I'm talking with someone and walking. And so it's a lot of, you know, mind over matter. Often I'm just silent because I'm so focused on my walking. So, you know, I'm at the point where I can walk like 200 feet without my cane, just holding my cane like right in front of me. And that's awesome. And I don't trip, I don't fall, but it has taken time, and it's stretching every morning. It's certain exercises, and it's quite beneficial.
Well, and I think sometimes,
for sure.
I think sometimes what happens is that we fail to realize that it takes every bit of our body to function. And, you know, and then we get upset when something doesn't quite connect as the way that it should. Yes. You know, our bodies just get this way overnight. You know, you may have realized it when you were little, but you dismissed it, or younger, I should say. You know, you just may have dismissed some of that. And some folks, it probably came on very quickly. But I think most folks is that it comes slowly, and you just kind of dismiss it, make up excuses, and, you know, oh, I tripped, or something was in the floor, or the grass was too tall, or, you know, the crack in the sidewalk, or I mean, whatever it is, right? And we don't realize that it hits us then one day when you're like, oh, holy moly, I got to start carrying a cane, or I've got to do something for balance. I mean, the worst thing that you could do is to fall and break a hip, you know, so, you know, don't let that be the ultimate problem because you don't want to carry a cane or you don't want to carry a device. Give yourself permission, you know, to do that. So thank you so much, Heather, for your comments. I really appreciate that. And congratulations on that 5 months.
Oh, thank you so much. And, you know, when I was drinking, I fell all the freaking time. I broke bones inside of my body. And I was just like, this is so dumb. Like, stop it. So ladies and gentlemen, don't start drinking.
Well, and understandably so, because we think, you know, that's the fix to, you know, kind of numb us to what's going on. And, right. And in the end, it really is hurting us more You know, all that alcohol going into your system is really just a poison.
Yes.
And that is hurting everything else that your body is already trying to fight for. So it is, but it's an individual thing, and you have to be willing to, you know, say, I need to stop that because it really is hurting me. So that's a big deal. And let me say, anytime you need to have someone to cuss, spit, cry, scream, pick up the phone and give me a call. Okay.
All right.
And
Thank you.
I'll for sure listen. Absolutely. And that goes for all of you, any of you. You know, you got an issue and you don't know who else to call. I'll listen and I'll make note of that in a confidential way, and then try to see if there's not a doctor out there that we can find to help them understand that these are some concerns. And that's what the whole foundation is about, is it raising awareness, you know, education, and raising funds in order to try to find that cure, right? Find a cure. That's what I've got on my shirt that I'm wearing all the time, you know. And I'll tell you a quick story that you had mentioned there about drinking. My husband is, he probably doesn't want you to know this necessarily, but he is the chairman of a bank board of directors. And we had gone, this has been about like maybe 5 years ago, and we had gone to a Christmas party of the bank employees, okay? So it was cold, it was Christmas time, and he doesn't really drink. I mean, that's not something that we do. And we were walking out to go back to the car, and we had to kind of walk a pretty good distance. And I don't even think he was even carrying a cane. And he was like leaning on me so that we could get to the car so he doesn't fall, because every step he was just getting stiffer and stiffer and stiffer. And lo and behold, on the street, some of the employees came by from where we had just been at this, you know, Christmas party. And they were like, oh, you need to get a taxi. You don't need to drive. Oh, that went all over us, because we were not drinking, you know, but yet we were envisioned that we had been drinking because we had been at that dinner party. So yeah. I explained to him, and I said to him, I said, what if you had been carrying a cane, even though the cane never hit the ground? You were carrying it like a gentleman cane from, you know, way back in the day. Those employees, because, you know, they didn't get reprimanded. Let me just say that and confess, they didn't get reprimanded for that. But, you know, would they have ever even said that then? Yeah. So as long as you've got some kind of an aid with you, whether it's a cane or a pole or a track or, you know, whatever it may be, that lets the whole world know, you know, don't knock me down, because I'm going to hit you with this cane. No, I'm just kidding. You know, so that's the kind of thing that I think that we have to bring awareness to, is that there's a lot of people out there in the world that never give a thought to the issues of what we're dealing with. You know, they're not dealing with them, so it's not their issues, right? So just to having something that we can say, you know, here's what we need, you know, we need your help. And that's one of the things that I just took them all off my desk, but that's why we actually wear those rubber bracelets. So that if there's somebody that seems to kind of be, you know, with an issue or look at it's kind of funny, my husband will take it off his arm and say, hey, put this on your dresser, and maybe before you go to bed tonight, you might say a prayer for us, or give me a good thought, or send some, you know, good vibes our way, because this is what we're dealing with. And that way it's a visual thing. And everybody's, you know, still likes to wear those rubber bracelets. And that would be a good way to kind of let people know that you're dealing with the circumstance that you're dealing with. So again, thank you, Heather. I appreciate your comments. CC, come on back and join us. You got another comment? Unmute yourself and join us. You're still muted. There you go. Uh-oh. She's trying. She's punching buttons. And it could be my internet. She's trying to unmute. Can you unmute? You're hitting the video button. It's popping off and on. Okay, I'll tell you what, you get that worked out, and we'll come back to you. I'll leave you up there till you can get your
there we go.
Oh, there you go. Got it. Yay,
you unmuted me. Thank you. But again, kind of what I was saying earlier, especially when I first had my daughter, I knew at that point they thought I had ataxia, but either way, I started carrying a cane constantly because I had too many people talk about that drunk lady with that baby. And it was just so much easier with the, once she was big enough, she rode on the seat of my rollator, and that's how I got her around till she was probably 3 or 4. She went to all kinds of annual meetings and different things with me on my rollator. But, just the fact that people see our walk and think, oh, they're drunk, that's their problem. No, there's a reason why I walk the way I do. But the cane, as I say, even if you never touch the ground with it, the fact that you have a cane or a walker or whatever tends to let people know. And a rollator is wonderful because you can clear a path, when it's a crowd. They're a lot more likely to give you the whole sidewalk or the section of sidewalk you need, because you've got this big thing that could knock them over if you really wanted to.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That is so important, because the worst thing that you could do is going into a store or going into the movie theaters or wherever you may go, is to have there to be a rush to get out of that facility, out of that building, out of that store, and then you not be able, because of the excitement and the nervousness about what might be going on, it may actually lock you up more. And if you have a rollator or something that you could sit on and be pushed, then perhaps maybe there would be a good Samaritan that might help push you out of the way. So I think that's very important. So let's take one more question or one more comment, and then we're going to go ahead and call this a day. We've been on here an hour, and I am so thankful that everyone has been a part of this talk. And it looks like that we probably, may want to come back, Brittany, and do, part number 3. Is everybody still agreeable with all this kind of open forum and be able to discuss different topics and issues that might be helpful? I see a lot of head shaking.
Yes.
Good.
Yes.
Anybody, do you want to take the last comment and go with that? Thank you, Josie, for the thumbs up. Brittany, you want to kind of end it on your comment?
Oh, sure. So I again just wanted to express my deep appreciation for everyone who joined in, who wanted to be a part of the conversation and to lend any sort of support. I think this is what we're all here for, is to get that understanding and that acceptance. When I saw a bumper sticker the other day that said, disability is just a different ability. And I thought, what, I've never heard that before, but I love it. Yeah, you know what? We all just have different abilities, and we just have to accept what those abilities are and use them, and, just love ourselves and be comfortable enough to have the conversation that this is what I have, and this is what I'm capable of, and this is what I'm not, and that's okay. And I think that's huge. I did share my name, my cell phone number, and my email in the chat. So even if we are not doing a live, even if we're doing an SPF Talks or something, if everyone's having a moment, having a day, wants to talk about anything, whether it is HSP or PLS related or not, please do feel free to contact my cell phone or send me an email. It's kind of why I had the idea of doing these life hacks, is to just really have that support system for everybody. So again, I just wanted to express my sincere appreciation. Thank you to everyone. And I hope that we can all get through this together. And I'm looking forward to seeing everyone at the conference.
Thank you so much, Brittany.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brittany.
Couple of last things. Again, if you've got a question that you would like for us to have addressed at the conference, there will be, for those of you that are at the conference, there will be a Q&A board that will be set up in the lobby. So you don't have to put your name on it if you want to, or there will be an opportunity. What we anticipate, you never know how technology is, but what we anticipate is that we will have a microphone that will be running around the room during that appropriate time so that you can either stand or sit and ask your questions directly. But any of those push pin questions on that board, they will be collected, and then someone will be asking the doctor panel about those questions. So feel free to do that. But for those of you that are not attending, then I'm opening up the door there to allow you guys to email that to me. I will collect that information. I've already gotten a couple already, and then we will make sure that those are presented. And within the time frame of an hour, then we'll have those. And then perhaps if nothing, less, we will have those doctors come on between now and the end of the year, and then we'll be able to talk with them about those questions. The conference agenda, so that you guys, any of you that are interested in wanting to see that, I know that some of you ladies like to Pinterest. Yes, Pinterest. Okay, so there is we do have the SPF Foundation has a Pinterest page, and we have a particular board set up just for the annual conference. So you can go find part of that agenda on that Pinterest page. Also, you can find it in its entirety as a download document on our website. So go back to the website page that talks about the annual conference. You'll find that in the drop-down box that talks about event. So go to the page, find the event, find the annual conference. There's a big red button on there that shows you the download for the conference program. And then we will have that available so that you guys can download that and have conversations with that if you need to. Just send me an email. And then the last thing I wanted to tell you about, or I got two things. The last thing, next to last thing, Awareness Week, save the date for August the 20th through the 28th. So what we anticipate is you will be using the same link to log on next time. So if you've already registered, there's not a need for you to re-register. So when you get an email that says the date has changed to August the 20th, you'll know that it's about Awareness Week. Now, if you want more information about Awareness Week, then go to the website and look up the event page that says Awareness Week. And there will be the information on there, and I'm sure we'll be putting that all on social media. And then I will send out an email and let you know what the agenda is going to be for each of those days. And we're only going to pop on like we did today for about an hour, 6 p.m. Central Time. Plug that into your calendars, and then we'll come up with whatever that agenda is going to be after I get finished with the annual conference. Because I'm just like, I'm not drowning. I've now got my nose above water, and I am really doing well on getting all the details done for the conference. So if you guys see something that needs to be done differently when you get there, come to the registration table and let them take a note, and then we'll see what we need to do to address that. But open registration will begin Thursday night, 5 to 7 o'clock p.m. Central. 5 to 7, Thursday night, that will be the open registration. So that means come to the table, sign your name, we'll give you a name tag, we'll give you a welcome bag with full of goodies, and then we will start the program first thing on Friday morning with a breakout session. So notice your agenda and what room you're supposed to be in. The last thing I wanted to tell you about before we go, unless somebody has a particular question, if you guys remember, technology is wonderful until it doesn't work right. But I want to tell you that if you'll go and look down at the chat box, all the way down to the very bottom of the chat box, you'll see a little thing that says to everyone, right? Then you'll see it looks like a little notepad, then it looks like a smiley face, and then there's those 3 little dots that are hanging out there, right? Y'all see those 3 little dots? Click on those 3 dots and it says save chat. Okay? Once you say save chat, then right above that, it'll say show in the folder. That's the folder on your computer where all of that got saved, right?
Yeah.
Just so you guys know, save chat, show in the folder. It'll pop up over here, wherever you've got your stuff being saved on your hard drive. And then, again, as a reminder, as soon as our wonderful team, which is really Hank, once he gets a chance to get all of this uploaded on the video on our YouTube channel, then it will all be available on there. So anybody have any other questions? We're going to call it a day. And again, thank you so very much for joining us. And I look forward. Heather, do you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to know your name.
Oh, I'm Norma Pruitt.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I thought everybody kind of knows. I apologize. I am the executive director and the conference coordinator for the foundation.
Okay, thank you so much.
Sure.
Norma, real quick.
I'm sorry, Brittany, did you say something?
I think Dina wanted to say something.
Yeah, I'm just calling on her. Thanks.
So in the chat, Josie asked if you could repeat the email for questions.
For questions, it's spasticconference@gmail.com. spasticconference@gmail.com. I have to look. I can't just type without looking at it. So there you go. Spastic. So now you resave it, and that way you'll have it on your hard drive. Marcy, you got a question? Go ahead.
Yes, I do. I want to say first, I think we could quote the talks to mental health and support, and maybe have some professionals on it. Norma, I think you're wonderful. You're so strong. I can't say how strong I think you are. But I think we all, have mixed emotions and issues with our HSP that would be helpful to discuss with experts and with each other. I go to a PT and I'm trying to stay mobile, but I can't walk very well. I have to use either 2 canes or some other device. And I finally broke down and got a lightweight wheelchair for long distances, and I find that very helpful. It's a manual wheelchair, so I can wheel myself. But what I wanted to say is, I think for me, having a support network or support team is very helpful and very necessary. And that does include my physical therapist. It includes my therapist that I mentioned. I've been looking for a neurologist that has enough interest to take me as a patient. I've kind of been rejected by a number because they say we don't know, how to treat you. So this week I am going to a specialist. She's a neuromuscular specialist, and I'm hoping that she'll become my neurologist. And then a primary care provider is very important as part of the team. And again, I'm still looking for one that is accepting patients. But I think, I don't have a big family. I don't have family support, but I do think that, whatever support we can get and we need, we should do that. And it's very helpful for my emotional health.
Well, thank you, Marcy, for saying that. I wish and we've got it taped, of course, but I'm kind of joking in a way. That's like the perfect commercial. I mean, you just kind of gave me the perfect commercial. And that's one of the things that, when our team, we're all volunteers at the foundation. And when our team all got together and we're thinking about things that we could do or what should we do, education, of course, is one of the missions of the organization, and being a support group and providing education, that's exactly what we're doing. And we recognize that, having this platform, we need to use it for more than just an annual conference, which is, what we did for the last 2 years, is just do a webinar. But my goal was, and here's, I'm being real. My goal is to let everybody understand how to use the technology, and come on screen if you want to, come and talk if you want to. If you don't want to, that's okay too. But I want you to be capable of being able to show yourself, have a conversation on screen, looking at yourself, because you kind of got to get used to that, right? But I want to be able to have these professional doctors come on and see you. I want us to have 500 people, if we have to, on this screen, so that they see that we are reaching out, and that here's our population. And now what are y'all going to do for us? What are you going to do for us? We need help. And how do we get that help? How do we get, the doctors to know that we've got these issues, and what doctor needs to, be available to have this conversation? So what my goal is to have these patient-led conversations, subject matter discussions of interest to us, and then as a means of teaching technology, how to help your computer system in your own office there, or your own home, or on your phone, help all of those things to be able to connect to what we need to connect to, so that when that doctor pops up and you've got a question, I want them to see your face. I want them to know and see when he goes or she goes to bed at night. I want her to have all of this just blazed in her brain, or his brain, that these are real people, that we're not numbers, and we're not just, check a box. I want them to see us, and I want them to know that we exist. And that was the whole purpose as well, is being a support and helping with technology, so that we can come on screen, learn how to raise your hand, and not just blurt out, because that noise will be a distraction to all of us, of course. But the doctor may come back and say, I don't want to do that anymore, because they don't really have a method to kind of keep it in control. And we want to be able to teach how to use this. And I think now everybody's pretty much comfortable with the technology, but we want to be able to get those doctors on screen with us, because some of these doctors you may not ever be able to get an appointment with. I mean, just be honest. And if, your insurance or your travel or whatever, but we've got, the 2 doctors last year that participated, from Brazil. We want them. We want to get the Italian doctors, the German doctors, the Chinese doctors, the Israeli doctors, all of those people are reaching out to us. And I want to bring them all together too, in a collaborative effort to help them understand what we need. We need the doctors to focus on, optic issues and bladder issues and every other issue that we've got. And, let them know that it could be a symptom of HSP and PLS. And so a couple of more questions. Dina, you got a question you want to bring out or comment?
Oh yeah, I was just going to comment that another platform that people could do, I don't know if everybody's familiar with Dr. Fink. He is like the major expert in the United States, and he does a support group once a month like this. You can send in your questions, and he will sit there for 2 hours and answer everybody's question, trying to answer everybody's question.
Yes, that's right. Thank you so much, Dina, for bringing that out. And that's where I actually kind of got the idea that, we're on his platform, but we want him also on our platform. So that way we would actually be able to see, twice. And that, for you guys that are not familiar with that, Dr. Fink, you can find all that information about his website or his Zoom platform on our website under the events tab. And I think it's actually scheduled for the Tuesday nights, the first Tuesday night of every month at like 6:30, maybe 6:30 Central is what I have on my calendar, but I'm not sure if it's Central or Eastern, because he's in the Eastern zone. So you might want to double check that on our website.
Norma?
So yes.
He does kind of have this little sabbatical period through the summer, and he'll start again around September, October.
Yeah. And I think that's wonderful. And what I'd like to do is to be able to see that, all of the doctors that, and all the researchers and the investigators, I want them to eventually have an opportunity to come in front of all of you, not just be a webinar, but to let them have this dialogue. Let them have a question come from y'all. Let them give a presentation, but then at the same time, so maybe we might need to look at an hour and a half long when it comes time for those types of professionals, or longer. But, after a couple of hours, everybody kind of lose their, their mental focus. And or I lose mine. So I've got to get up and walk around. So that's, I think, something that we can all strive to have in the future. And if any of you guys have got any other subject matters that you might find interesting, then send us an email, reach out to one of us, and we'll be glad to see what we can do to try to find someone to speak on that issue. Or if you want to provide a presentation, you can be like Brittany, and we'll pick a subject and you guys can, tell us more about that. I mean, we had Kevin Gallagher. He talked about Botox the last month ago as well. So, there's lots of subjects that we can all talk about. So I'm going to call it a day. And I'm going to, again, thank you all so very much for being a part of this, and reach out with any question. If you don't send me a question, it's on you. So let me know that you've got an issue or a question, and we'll see what we can do to try to find an answer for it at the conference. And then if it doesn't get addressed, then you can reach back out after you've watched that video, and then we can address it in a different format. Sound good? Everybody good? I look forward to seeing all of you in person in Nashville on July the 23rd, I guess. And we'll get going. We'll see you then. 22nd, maybe. I think 22nd. Yeah. Thank you, Dana. My days are all running together. I don't even know what today is without looking at my iPhone calendar. So, okay, guys. Thank y'all so much. Y'all have a great Sunday afternoon.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Brittany, so much.